Hello and welcome to Post, the channel where we discuss all things hockey. My name's Neil and I'm here with my friend Justin, and we're here today to talk about the Coaches Challenge. Now, this video is a little different. I have 3 cameras set up. I have one for a wide shot, I have a tight shot on me, and we have a third camera pointed at Justin. So this is a bit different than my typical video so far, but we'll give this a shot and see how it goes. So like I said, we're here to talk about the Coaches Challenge, and this is a conversation that we've had briefly over the past, I guess, 2 years. It's been in the league 2 years now, I think. And it's a controversial topic because it's so inconsistent. And I guess let's just dive into it. Can you, from your understanding, what are the rules that would justify a coach's challenge?
Well, there's really 2 scenarios here. One, the coach can challenge on a play if he figures it was offside and it led to a goal. Second being is the coach can challenge if he figures there's interference with his goaltender as well. So outside of that, you can't challenge on it. So it really limits to 2 key areas. But even though there's only 2 key areas, there's still inconsistencies to it. Now, if I go back to when this was first discussed in GM meetings and so on, and then the NHL first announced it to say, hey, we're going to implement the coach's challenge, I was actually all aboard because I thought, okay, now we can see some consistency.
Yeah.
We can see, specific goals where I would sit on my couch and become that guy who'd be yelling at the TV, why is that a goal? That can't be a goal.
Yeah.
There has to be some justice here, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I was on board. But now that we're into the second year of this, I'm actually fully turned against the coach's challenge. There's a couple main reasons. One, the process where the referees skate over toward timekeeper area and the 2 of them stand around with a tiny little tablet.
Yeah.
Okay. It's pathetic looking. Okay. You have 2 grown men. They're staring at a tablet. Okay. Yeah. He's got the headset on. He's communicating with Toronto, so on.
Yeah.
But I mean, is he really getting the best perspective he can have by looking at a tablet?
Mm-hmm.
Like how large is that? Is it 10 inches?
Right.
12-inch tablet?
Yeah.
I mean, are you able to zoom in enough so you can clearly see if a puck crosses the goal line, if a player intentionally is going into a goaltender, or if a skate is offside across the blue line? Can you see that on a tablet? I don't know. But the thing that really bothers me the most is the time in between deciding whether or not they're going to overturn a goal. I've seen some go as long as 5-7 minutes.
Right.
And by this point, players are getting antsy on the bench. They want to keep going. You see them on the bench. They're stretching along the boards. The guys that are ready on the ice, they're taking little skates around at center ice. They're trying to stay warmed up, trying to stay loose. Meanwhile, they got to wait 5 to 7 minutes for the referee to decide, are we going to overturn this goal or not?
Yeah.
To me, the whole process needs to be taken back to the beginning, and it needs to be thought out a lot better than what it is.
Right.
Because 2 grown men standing around a tablet to decide if a goal should be disallowed or not is just crazy to me. I think what should be done, if I were in charge of it, I would say, hey, let's hand this over to Toronto. Toronto can decide whether or not if the goal should be allowed, because they would probably have 75 plus monitors in that little area.
Yeah.
They would have camera angles that we wouldn't even see on television. They'd be able to zoom in. They'd be able to get those exact shots needed to decide whether or not a goal should be allowed or not 2 men standing around a tablet.
Yeah. So
it's ridiculous.
I definitely agree with that. But when you say people in Toronto, on all those monitors and stuff, do you think those people should be other NHL referees that maybe aren't working that night on the ice, or do you think that they should be league officials? Or,
well, I mean, that's a good point. At the end of the day, does it really need to be done by an official? Because we have those in Toronto deciding a lot of other things within the game.
Yeah.
So why can't they decide whether or not a goal should be disallowed or not? Mm-hmm. Because if they're already deciding things, are they not at the same level as an official that's on the ice? I just feel that they would be able to make a better decision because they'd be able to see things better than 2 men around a tablet.
Yeah. They're on the ice to make the call on the ice.
Right.
And
yes.
And that's why
Yep.
that's why the Toronto Situation Room exists.
Yep.
for a second or third or fourth or however many people they have in that room opinion.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's kind of, I mean, there's 2 real main issues for me. There's 2 real main issues for me. It's the time it takes because it's some of these games are getting out of hand. Like there was a Pittsburgh game a couple weeks ago, and took them over 8 minutes to decide whether it's a goal or not. And the other issue for me is consistency. So we can get into that a bit later, but it does need to be revamped. I still like the coaches challenge. I think even though it has its faults, if it was the same thing next year, I still think it's better than not having the coaches challenge at all. And that's probably the unpopular opinion, but I want the calls to be right. And but with that said, even when it has gone to a challenge, and to me, in my personal opinion, when I see a play and I just think that there's no way that can be a goal, like that's clearly goaltender interference, and then it comes back and it's a goal, and that's frustrating. So I mean, there are definitely issues, but it does need to be reworked, and I'm not really sure what the answer is. Do they impose a time limit? Do they say, okay, whether it's the ref on the ice that needs to make the decision with his little dinky tablet, or is it the 5 people in the situation room in Toronto, regardless of who it is, should there be a time limit? And is that time limit 2 minutes? Is it 3 minutes or 5 minutes? And I mean, you don't want to rush a decision when you're trying to get it right. So
that's just it. And I mean, if we go back to 1999, okay, when the Dallas Stars won the Stanley Cup, the controversial goal involving Brett Hall, right? What happened the following year? The NHL changed the rule, didn't they? Right? Because they were made to look like fools.
Exactly.
Now, what if somebody challenges a game-winning goal for the Stanley Cup? Okay? You could have 50% of the people on the fence to say that was a good goal. You could have 50% on the other side saying, okay, that's clearly goaltender interference. That shouldn't be a goal.
Yeah.
Does the NHL want that kind of outlook? Obviously not. They want a clear-cut decision where vast majority are saying, yep, that's a good goal, or yep, that goal should be overturned, should not be allowed.
Yeah.
And it's the inconsistency as well that really creeps into it, because I could, just thinking to myself, go back to numerous plays this year where goals were challenged. And I look at it and say, oh yeah, okay, there's definitely some goaltender interference there. Okay, goal's overturned, no problem. But then it seems 3 nights later on a very similar play, that goal is fine.
And that's what's frustrating.
And that drives me crazy.
Yeah, and I don't know if, is it the same people in Toronto making those decisions, or do they have different people each night watching different games, and it's different people? And I mean,
that would be interesting to know if there are, say, rotational shift work at that place. Who knows? Maybe you got 4 or 5 guys on one night for a specific amount of games, then you have 4 or 5 guys on for a different night. It would be nice if you had the exact same crew every single night for the games. Then perhaps you could have some consistency there. But at the same time, maybe it'd be hard to find some guy who's not biased towards a specific team. But hey, that's a totally different road.
And I mean, if there's a Toronto Washington game on, and there's also a Boston New Jersey game on, and both have a potential reviewable situation, and they both go to the league at the same time, or Toronto, and say, hey, is this a goal or not? And there's only one team, which do they look at first? And so
there has to be a multitude of people.
Yeah, there has to be multiple people there, and which is how it should be. There couldn't be just one guy. If it was just one guy, then there would be favoritism potentially. So there's a committee.
Yeah, exactly. And just to reiterate on your suggestion of a time limit, that's something that I thought of as well, and thought, okay, we could place a time limit on it for the referees to come to a final decision. The only issue with that is there's a lot of plays that would require a lot more time than others because of the particular play, how it basically worked out. They need to look at it from every angle. But there may be some other things that they could do to try to improve the turnaround time. And something that's been suggested a lot is to install cameras along the blue line.
Right.
And that could really help for offside calls. And it would give you a nice clear shot. At the same time, may not be a clear shot if there's other players along the blue line that could, basically block out the camera view. But it would really help. And others have said, well, they should place technology in the puck so that if the puck crosses the goal line, an alert is triggered. That kind of technology exists.
Yeah, because they used it in last year's All-Star game, I think, or the year before. I can't remember.
Yeah, it was tested out, but it was never fully implemented. The only downside is that wouldn't really help you in order to determine if there was goalie interference or not, but it can help for those specific times where you're thinking, okay, was it fully across the goal line? There could be some snow on the ice that's built up and you can't clearly see if there's white in between the puck and the goal line. There's so many of those situations. At the end of the day, most fans are saying, you know what, I just want the right call all the time. And with the Coaches Challenge, many fans thought, okay, well, we're going to finally get the right call all the time. But at the end of the day, it's been, we're almost through, well, actually, we're over halfway through the second year of this. And we're still at the point of, well, you win some, you lose some.
Yeah, it's caused just as much frustration as it did before it was implemented.
Oh, my goodness. So. And to me, it seems as if coaches are challenging so many plays now because I almost think they're unsure and they think to themselves, hey, maybe there's a chance we can get this overturned.
Yeah.
Why not? Or if, say, a team scores a goal, your guys have been out there on the ice for quite a while, and you know that, hey, they could use a break. We could use this as an opportunity to basically regroup as a team. I'm going to call a Coach's Challenge because I know it's going to take them 5 minutes at least.
Exactly.
So we can rally the troops. We can have a great chat. Might as well haul out the whiteboard too.
Yeah.
Go for it.
And just to transition here a bit, I think we both did a little bit of research on this, and we both came back with frustrations because the statistics for the Coaches Challenge aren't really publicly easily available, and if it is, I couldn't find it.
Right, and that's something that bothered me. I wanted to know how many Coaches Challenge have been brought forward since this was implemented in the league. I want to know that total number, and I want to know the percentage of challenges that actually worked in the favor of the coach and the goal was overturned. I want to know those statistics, and I can't find them anywhere.
And I can't give them to you, except I can give you what you're looking for, but only as of March 14th, 2016. So that was about, the first, almost at the end of the first year.
Right.
So, so we have 218 Coaches Challenges.
That's a lot.
And that was a lot. I was surprised by that too. And there was 163 upheld and 55 overturned, which is interesting.
That's not bad.
And to break it down further, there was 126 called by the coach for goalie interference, and 14 initiated by the Situation Room. So that's also pretty interesting. Yeah. And 69 was called by the coach for offside, and 9 was initiated by the league office. So, so we have 163 upheld and 55 overturned. When you see 55 overturned, that means that it's doing its job, because those are plays that were called incorrectly on the ice.
However, there may be some of those that could still be open to discussion.
Completely.
There was some that were overturned just in the past month, and I was still at the edge of my seat thinking, how was that overturned?
Yeah. And I'm glad you said that, because there was a situation, and we just discussed this earlier, but Montreal was playing the Rangers, and Carey Price was interfered with, and the skate of Nash, or the leg and skate of Nash, went in between the pad and the leg and literally hauled Carey Price out of the net. Yeah. And he didn't do it intentionally, but that doesn't matter, because intention doesn't matter. It's the fact that you did it or not. And they Montreal challenged it, and they lost.
Right.
And I sat there and I thought, how is this a goal? Right. Like, you literally drug Carey Price out of the net. He wasn't able to make a save because you drug him out of the net. And to me, that's a play that should have been overturned. It should have been no goal. But obviously I'm wrong. Right. And that's the real main issue. It's I don't have a problem with me being wrong. I have a problem with me that there's a line of misunderstanding, because obviously I don't understand the rule correctly, because I believe that should have been a no goal, but the people in charge think that's a goal. And that, I think that a lot of people are in that situation. They see these plays and they have completely different opinion because they're interpreting the rule differently. Yeah. And I don't know if it's the way that the rule is written or what, but there needs to be better understanding of what is and what isn't goaltender interference, and what's a good goal and what's not a good goal.
Yeah, and the only way they can really create an argument of, okay, this is why we overturned the goal, is if the Ranger player, Nash, was coming in and he was actually pushed into Price from someone on Montreal. Yeah. However, that wasn't the case. Yeah. He was the main puck carrier. He's just barging the net. Yeah. And as a coach, you like to see that, but it's one of those unfortunate circumstances where he really tried to get out of the way.
Yeah,
he didn't make contact with Price.
He did.
And as he was lifting his his leg around to try to avoid that contact. It actually got caught up in his pad. And as he was still going with his momentum, he drug Price about 12 to 15 feet out of the crease.
Yeah.
And you even see it as the referee skates by. Price is looking up at him as if to say, what is this?
Yeah, like, what's going on here?
How can we allow this?
Yeah.
And I can really understand the frustration on that one, because I can even scratch my head and think, how did they?
And from every camera angle,
not overturn it. I mean,
every camera angle looked like that was goaltender interference. And the angle that really told the story for me was the camera that was inside the net, and it was just after Price made the initial save, and you see him on his side, literally being hauled out of the frame to the right, and then the puck right there being ready to shot in. It's like he
just kept going with Nash's momentum. He was just totally pulled away. And if he wasn't pulled away, there's a very strong chance that he could have made that save. And it is Carey Price and all, best goalie in the world. I mean, there is a chance he could have made that save. And it was just the most hilarious thing, because as you mentioned, from that camera in the net, you just see his arms out as if he's trying to stop and stick claws in, and he's just...
it was comical.
Yeah, just being slid away from the play. It was hysterical. And it's one of those ones where you're still left scratching your head. And I think there's a lot of fans out there that can even agree with that play. What's up, NHL?
Yeah. So I have a few questions for you.
Sure.
How do you think that the majority of the coaches in the NHL feel about the Coaches Challenge? Do you think they like them? Do you think they hate it?
Well, I think if you ask them after they won a challenge, they would say, hey, I like this thing. However, I bet you there would be a lot of coaches out there that are still kind of on the fence with it. I mean, it hasn't been around for a long time, but at the end of the day, it's worked in the favor of coaches and it's worked against them. It really has. And they are still wondering, in a lot of cases, why it didn't work in their favor when they clearly watch replays on the bench, because all the benches have things set up so they can instantly watch a play after it occurred. And they're still wondering, okay, why wasn't this overturned? And it's just a constant debate. And you'll even see the media a day later question a coach concerning a challenge that he had in the previous game. Yeah. And there's still really not clear answers involved where the coach would instantly agree with it. I mean, he's going to stick up for his club, his guys.
For sure.
But at the end of the day, do we want to be in that situation where at all times, the right call's always made? There's never an argument from the other side against it. But is it even possible to get to that point? That's a really good question.
Yeah, and I'm sure it drives coaches crazy sometimes.
Oh, definitely.
They go to bed not being able to sleep because of it.
Oh, I've seen serious rage on the bench.
Yeah.
Serious rage.
The next question I have is, how do you think that the hardcore fans feel about it?
Well, I mean, I've been watching hockey for years and years and years. And I mean, I was really for it at first. But now that it's been around for as long as it has, as a hardcore hockey fan, I'm just fully against it. I hate seeing a great game and all that momentum just being tossed aside for 5 to 7 minutes while two guys huddle over a tablet. It just kills the vibe of the game. Fans in attendance are basically starting to fall asleep because now there's absolutely nothing going on. They're just sitting around waiting. Players sitting around waiting. It just kills the momentum of the game, kills the atmosphere in the building. It just needs to be done a lot better than it is. And I think majority of fans, if you were to poll them, here's an interesting scenario. Say if NHL.com put up a poll today and they left it open for a month.
Yep.
Are you for or against the Coaches Challenge? That's the percentage I'd like to see.
Yeah.
And I feel confident in saying that over 50% would say they are against it, just because it needs to be refined a lot better.
Yeah.
It does.
And I think if you put out another poll and, like you said, it needs to be revamped. If you put out a poll and had it ask, do you think it should be revamped?
Right.
It would almost be 100% to 0. Like,
right.
I don't think people have an issue with the Coaches Challenge itself. It just, the rules need to be changed. Right. The process needs to be changed.
Yeah, the process.
It's not done right now, and that's a problem.
No, it can be done a lot better, especially when we're in the year 2017.
Yeah.
Again, 2 grown men standing around a tablet. Is there not something better that could be implemented for them to be able to see the angles more precisely, more clearly. I mean, is that tablet 4K? I don't know. If they're zooming in on the play, are they able to see everything clearly, or does it become pixelated? I mean, these are things I'd like to know.
Yeah.
And it just drives me crazy with the duration for a decision to be made.
Yeah.
I want to see that game just keep going. And I'm sure the players are like that too. You could ask many players if they have a 4 or 5 day layoff in between games. They prefer to have, a game every second or third night, keep that going.
Yeah, definitely.
And it just kills the momentum of a game when you're waiting 7 to 8 minutes for them to make a decision.
Yeah, the time limit. The time limit is one of the biggest concerns for me.
Yeah.
I think that the coaches challenge should be in no matter what. So I guess I disagree with you a little bit. So I think it should be in regardless of time, but time is an issue for me. I want it to get quicker and better for the players, better for the coaches, better for the clubs, and maybe most importantly, better for the fans, because we're the people who support the game. We're the people who watch the games, and
well, without the fans, there is no league, is what I always say. And that goes for any sport, hockey or baseball or anything. If you don't have fans coming in, buying the tickets and merchandise, your league's not going to be around for very long. And that's a question that I'd like to throw out to you. Do you think it would be a good idea to take the referees out of it and go to the situation room in Toronto to say, okay, we just received a coach's challenge, hand it over to Toronto? Should that be the way the NHL should look at it?
Yeah, I think I probably would be okay with that. As long as they took into consideration what the call on the ice was.
Right.
If they couldn't come to a conclusive decision in the Toronto Situation Room, they should look on the ice and see what the ref called. And, maybe that's the default call. If they can't make a conclusive decision in Toronto, then they'll default to what the ref called, and then that'll be the final decision.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I mean, 9 times out of 10, the referee has a better vantage point than all of us. As a goal is scored, he's behind the goal line, he's clearly watching the play. However, the game of hockey today is a fast game. There's a lot of things going on in front of that crease that the referee may not be able to fully see. And, it's things like that bothers me a little bit with leaving it entirely up to the decision on the ice. And I really think the Situation Room should be taking a look at these coaches' challenges directly and not the referees on the ice. It has more eyes opposed to just 2 sets of eyes on the ice looking at it. And it has the ability to really open up the different views, the different angles that perhaps, the 2 guys with the tablet can't necessarily see. Because the Situation Room is, state-of-the-art facility for looking at stuff like this. Why not use it to its full potential?
And here's an interesting thing I was just thinking about in the past couple of days, and this will be the wrap-up question to this episode, but do you think that there should be a penalty to the game? And what I mean by that is if you set a time limit of 4 minutes to make a decision, if that time limit goes over 4 minutes, that time is taking off the end of the game.
Right.
So the teams are penalized basically, or the coach is penalized who made the call because he's delaying the game. So if you have an accumulation of an extra 2 minutes past 4 minutes, then the game wouldn't be 60 minutes. It would be 58 minutes or whatever. So it would end 2 minutes early.
Wow. Yeah. As a crazy hockey fan, I hate to see something like that happen.
Me too.
I'd like to see a period become extended opposed to losing time. But yeah, I really see where you're going with that. And I even had the thought before of, okay, if you call a coach's challenge, you lose, the goal's not overturned, doesn't go in your favor, they lose their timeout. Okay, so it's a little bit of a hit against them.
Yeah.
But maybe the NHL would look at trying to cut down on coaches' challenges and saying, okay, if you call a coach's challenge, you lose, your team is now shorthanded for 2 minutes.
Ooh, interesting.
Your bench has now just received a minor penalty for delay of game.
Oh, interesting.
Would that be interesting?
I like that idea more than the one I just said earlier.
Yeah, because right now, to me, I'm seeing a coach's challenge every second night. Yeah. I mean, it's impossible for me to watch every game simultaneously. However, I'm always flipping back and forth between various games. And it seems every second night I am catching a coach's challenge. And it's driving me crazy.
Yeah.
It seems they're just challenging everything because at this point they're almost throwing it in the face of the league and saying, well, we don't know what's going to be accepted tonight, so let's call a coach's challenge. So yeah, maybe thinking along the lines of, okay, if you call a coach's challenge, the goal is not overturned, you've now just received a minor penalty.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting, and I guess that's what we're into. And I'll leave that to the viewers at home to decide. Um, and with that said, thank you guys very much for watching. I really appreciate it. And Justin, where can they find you online if they want to hit you up with some questions?
Yeah, you can hit me up on Twitter at JustinTheMan87, where I'm discussing hockey quite frequently as well as professional wrestling. If you tweet, I'll be happy to respond, and perhaps we can get into a hockey debate. I'd like that.
Excellent. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions or comments for me, you can find me at Facebook/post-to-post show, or I'm also on Twitter at post-to-post show there. Or if you want to leave a comment down below, I'd be happy to answer you there and have a conversation. Thank you very much for watching. If you're not subscribed, I hope you hit the subscribe button because we'd like you to stick around and catch our future videos. But until then, we'll see you in the next video. Adios.